What's going on, everybody? It's the Boxing Freaks. Today we want to discuss the upcoming WBA Welterweight title fight between Manny Pacquiao and Lucas Matthysse. Matthysse won the vacant WBA title in his last fight against T. Long, unproven 26-year-old Thai fighter. So we got this fight coming up on Saturday in Malaysia. Let me get your opinion. What do you think on this fight? What are your first thoughts about this matchup?
Well, it's hard to say. For Pacquiao, I think it's a dangerous fight. Matthysse hits hard. You know, he can punch, and he can also take a punch. And these guys have aggressive styles. They both do. Pacquiao is more active in that aggression. He does punches from better angles. Matthysse is a come forward and just kind of try to walk through you kind of dude. But I think for Pacquiao, this is a fight that could end his career. Like, if he suffers another bad knockout the way he did against Marquez, for example, he might be done, and not just in a way in which he won't.
Since Marquez, just want to throw that out there. That was 6 years ago. You know, it's been a long time since he fought a fight. It was, but since that fight, he has not been the same fighter. He has not been the same fighter since that fight. Anybody who's watched Pacquiao since that fight knows he has not been the same fighter. He has lost a step. That was a bad knockout. I've seen people come back from bad knockouts. Even when they do, they're still not quite the same fighter. You know, you knock out after you get concussed, and you get concussed a little more. You suffer quite a few little mini concussions, and it slows you. It slows your reflexes. It slows your ability to react. It's actually why, given how long he's been doing this, and some of the battles he's been in, because he's been in some wars. You know, it's why he ends up losing that fight on scorecards against Jeff Horn. Even though I look at the fight and I say he didn't really lose that fight, but because somebody like Horn was able to get in there and tag him, get in there and tag him. Like a guy like Horn is able to put hands on Manny Pacquiao like that, and now he's going to fight, in my opinion, a better fighter in Matthysse, who is a harder puncher and who can take a punch. And it's dangerous for him, especially at this stage in his career. It's dangerous for him, but at the same time, he's fighting for a belt. He wants another title. He wants to keep fighting. That's very well his right. I don't know how it's necessarily going to go. Matthysse doesn't do very well against people who can really truly box. I say not do well. He's only got like 4 losses, but and 2 of those were controversial. I think Judah and maybe Danny Garcia. He very well could have only 2 losses on his record as opposed to 4. With that said, I don't know. It's kind of a tough fight to call. My gut tells me that Pacquiao's still going to pull it out and knock out Matthysse, because I feel like his defense being what it is and him being prone to getting hit is probably going to be what's going to do him in. Pacquiao probably still has a good enough hand speed to get Matthysse out of there. On the flip side of that, Pacquiao can get knocked out. It's a hard fight to call. Styles make fights. I think if you're going to watch a Pacquiao fight, if you just want to see 2 guys get in there and beat each other up, this is probably the fight you want to see. I think what's dangerous about this fight for Pacquiao, like I said, the fact that it is the biggest puncher he's faced in 6 years. So, how's he going to react to that punch? Because in the last few fights, or the fights we've seen, after his loss against Marquez, he wasn't getting hit with nearly as the type of punches that might really play over when he gets hit by Matthysse. But with all that said, go ahead.
Well, I want to correct myself real quick. It was Devin Alexander, by the way, that there was a controversial loss. Him and Judah, not Garcia. Garcia convincingly beat him. But go ahead and finish what you were going to say. Sorry.
With all of that said, while Matthysse is the biggest puncher Pac has fought in years, he does also present with something pretty simple for Pac to figure out, his speed and defense, or lack thereof. And you could say, well, so did Jeff Horn. Pacquiao got that loss. He wasn't known for his speed or defense. Well, I think Pacquiao won that fight. And Horn had success. He was
Pacquiao did let him, give him a lot of chances to have success and sway the judges. He was blooded up. He showed a lot of toughness and grit, but he was still peppering Horn all night. And you could say Pacquiao, he didn't fight up to his standard, and he gave Horn a lot of chances. But he's 40 years old. But anyway, the point is, Lucas, he never really had good lateral movement. That's not something he's known for, and he's never been a speedy fighter. Since his loss to Postol, Victor Postol, in 2015, he's been inactive, and that's another factor. It's his inactivity. He stopped most recently. Last two fights, he stopped Manuel Taylor. He's a solid fighter, not world level, but he's a solid fighter. In his last fight for the vacant title, which is for the vacant WBA title, he fought Tiwa Kiram, a 26-year-old Thai fighter who's unproven. You could say it was a dangerous fight because he was the bigger man, but he was unproven. And with that said, he didn't even look that impressive. I saw the fight. He was kind of plodding around the ring. He was inefficient. He wasn't really effective, whereas Manny in his last fight kind of showed a lot of grit and toughness. And it's been a long time since Lucas has been punched by somebody with the quality of Pacquiao. He's not that dynamic anymore, but just based on experience and longevity alone, you can't compare the challenge that Lucas faced in his previous two fights with what Manny brings to the table. So on paper, it seems all bad for Manny, but I think there's a good chance that this may just be the right opponent for him. He's not going to have to worry about getting outboxed. It's not going to be the tricky challenge that Floyd or even Tim Bradley provided. It shouldn't be as rough and ugly as the Jeff Horn fight because Matthysse, he doesn't really know to have that dog in him. He's not really known for being a dog or being a guy who goes out on his shield. He's been involved in great fights. But I think because of all that, Manny has a good chance to get into his own rhythm and sustain it. Unless we see some new dimensions out of Matthysse we haven't seen before. Now, of course, the calling card for him is going to be that one punch. He's not really a guy who carries that concussive power round to round and gets more dangerous as the fight goes on. If anything, it's the opposite. He's more of a one punch knockout kind of guy. So I think this may just be the right opponent for Manny to actually do something that maybe a lot of people don't expect. Is to get his own TKO, to get his own knockout and stop Matthysse in his tracks.
Well, he needs to, Manny is typically, he's a shorter welterweight. And I think, and he, there's no size advantage here for either guy. They're both like the same height. I think Matthysse is just a slightly taller, like by maybe half an inch or something like that. And he might have like a little bit like a small reach advantage, but it's kind of negligible, I think. So I understand what you're saying, and if I had to pick an opponent to win, I'm going to pick Pacquiao because of his volume and him. He just his work rate is he's going to outwork Matthysse, but it's still a dangerous fight for Pacquiao because Matthysse could knock him out with one punch. He really could. He could catch him and just knock him flat out. And Matthysse is not really the type to run either. He might stand there, and that's also dangerous. That's also really dangerous for Pacquiao. So I don't know.
Aside from other than one punch knockouts like we saw against Marquez in 2012, how often does Pacquiao get hurt though? Even at 40, how often does he get hurt? Did he get hurt against Jeff Horn? He didn't get hurt against Jeff Horn. So so like I said, I think really, if anything, I think the danger is the one-punch knockout power, but I think the real danger for Pacquiao at this point in his career would be to fight a boxer like Floyd, a different kind of danger. He's not going to suffer the same type of maybe possible damage.
But what if he gets old right in front of us? What if Pacquiao gets old right in front of us, just like Shane Mosley did, just like Roy Jones Jr. did, just like Bernard Hopkins did? What if at whatever point, what if he just gets old suddenly in front of us? The reason why he's even though he's suffered some, he's been knocked out, he's been in some rough fights. Pacquiao's best defense has always been his good offense. He's just coming at you from every angle, from all over the ring. I'm not certain that he is not too old at this point. I'm worried that he might get in there and it become a real situation where, oh man, he doesn't have it anymore. He's had like almost 70 fights. This will be like his 69th fight. That is a lot of fights. That's a lot of fights. And he's fought a lot of people, Hall of Famers. I mean, he has fought everybody. You know, I think it's a dangerous fight for him. Yeah, I think it's a dangerous fight for him. You know, he went to Australia and fought Horn, thinking, you know, I'll fight this guy, you know, and you know, it'll come back and fight somebody else. He kind of underestimated Horn, I think. I hope he's not underestimating Matthysse, because Matthysse could clean knock him out, like clean, you know. So I don't know. I'm excited to see. I'm excited in a way because I think it's going to be in two guys in there beating each other up. Usually, I'm more excited about that, but I classically like to see a good technical boxing match as well. And I'm actually worried for both. I'm actually worried for both fighters, but I'm more worried about Pacquiao getting out of there intact. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know why I have that feeling. It's just, you know, it could be the physician in me. You know, I'm worried that Pacquiao's going a little too far. I think he should retire. You know, and it's very telling to me that Freddie Roach is like, nah, we're not. I'm not training you. I don't think that you should be fighting anymore. I mean, Roach has basically told him that. You know, when No Hussein, they've parted ways. You know, and that's the guy who's really gotten him to be as successful as he could be. So, you know, we'll have to see. But I think it's going to be. I do think it'll be a good fight from the standpoint and perspective of just a boxing fan wanting to see a fight. I think that's the fight you want to see. Sure, you want to see that. You know, but I have to say, just in my opinion, I think it's a dangerous fight. I think it's a dangerous fight for him.
I do disagree with any of that, and I agree. I think Manny should retire. That this is an unnecessary fight for him. And with that said, you know, obviously it is happening. And one of the interesting things for me is Manny has, even at this point, he still has the edge of speed, but he obviously has the edge of footwork. And I'm not sure if Lucas, at this point in his career, has enough tools to neutralize Pac's footwork. Because if anything, I mean, he looks just as sharp or past his prime as Manny does, if not more. You know, he hasn't looked well. He didn't look, like I said, he looked like an old fighter in his last fight. He was kind of crawling around the ring. But with all that said, what's going to be interesting is Manny does have the advantage in footwork. But what I think is going to be key in this fight is I'm not sure what the strategies are going to be. That's what makes this fight so interesting. It's really kind of a pick 'em fight. Even though I think Manny, if I had to choose, I think Manny is going to get the stoppage, but it's as close to a 50-50 fight as you can possibly get. And I'm curious how they're both going to approach the fight. Who's going to take the lead? You know, who, if anybody, is going to be more cerebral with how he picks his shots? You know, neither guy is young, so that's something they might have to think about. You know, another aspect, like you just said, Manny doesn't have Freddie Roach. I mean, that's huge. You can't understate that. You know, like you said, this fight presents a different type of challenge for Manny that he's had in his previous fights after Marquez, and that he's fighting a huge puncher. What happens if Matthysse starts landing these punches, you know, and they start hurting? What's going to happen when it gets tough, you know, without Freddie Roach in his corner? You know, you can't you discuss that. That's going to be something interesting.
I think a telling stat is this. Okay, so they both have somewhere in the range of 35 plus KOs, right? And Matthysse has, I think, something like close to right around approximately 20 less fights, or somewhere in that range. Okay, so if you look at it, you know, Matthysse gets most of his opponents out of there. When he wins, he gets most of his opponents out of there. Period. And that's a checkable fact. Okay, Pacquiao has been able to carry his power up to welterweight, sorta. Okay, in the way that he gets people out with volume punching, right? With volume punching, whereas Matthysse, he gets you out of there with a few shots. Pacquiao's head movement has been good in the past, but in general, his defense is not good. And this is a thing that no one ever talks about when they talk about analyzing Pacquiao's style and why he couldn't come close to beating Floyd Mayweather. Never would have, never will, okay? Because one thing is Pacquiao can't fight backing up. Two, his defense, other than his head and shoulder and upper body movement, is trash. It's absolute trash. And he is very much prone to counterpunching. Now, Matthysse is not really that much of a counterpuncher per se, but he hits hard enough that if he gets 1-2 shots in there, Pacquiao is probably going to be out of there. Okay, so that's the thing. There's a difference in power here. Matthysse is the harder puncher. It's a fact. He is the harder puncher. He's got the heavier hands. He's got better line drive power than Pacquiao does. Pacquiao has good enough power to bother people, and he hits you from so many angles that he gets people out of there that way. But Matthysse is the stronger of these two guys. He is.
You could say that Matthysse doesn't fight more patient and doesn't come with a more patient approach because, like I said, he's up there too. He's 35. He's only 5 years younger. He has a lot of weight in his body. He's just, like I said, 3 fights ago he got knocked out, clean knockout, and he didn't look good before that. So, and for him, obviously this is a huge opportunity, even though, boxing pundits aren't going to rate this fight the same way they would have 5 years ago. But still, just for him, for his country, beating or knocking out Manny Pacquiao, that would be amazing even at this point.
It might be, and that was the other thing I wanted to discuss. So Matthysse, he took this fight, and he's trying to get this name on his resume and let it propel him to some greater height. So let's talk about a couple of things you just mentioned. So number one, this is probably a lose-lose for Matthysse in a way. I mean, if he beats Pacquiao looks good, and he beats him, then it's okay. But also people are going to say, well, Pacquiao shot over the hill, he got old, blah, blah, the things that I was just talking about. The other thing is if he loses to Pacquiao, well, where does he go from there? You mentioned he is 35. You can't keep suffering knockouts and losses at that age while you're trying to continue to get to the top of the division, especially in a division as stacked as welterweight right now. There's nowhere for either of these guys to go. At this point, they're fighting for a big fight for the paycheck, right? Because you got too many killers. You just got too many killers in this division now. You got Crawford, Spence, Thurman. I mean, you got too many guys in this division that are going to take you out.
I think a loss effectively removes both guys. Definitely Matthysse, maybe not Pacquiao. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, his guys, they can pull the strings, and I'm sure maybe he can get another title shot. But I think, especially for Matthysse, I think a loss effectively removes him forever for the rest of his career if he continues to fight from the title picture. I don't think he's going to get another title shot, and that's why it's going to be interesting to see his approach. Is he going to fight a little bit more patient? He can't take Manny Pacquiao, even at this point, is a bigger puncher than Victor Postol. You could say Postol is a better boxer, especially in 2015. But Matthysse has to be wary of Pacquiao's power even at this point. It's the most high-profile, most experienced opponent he's ever faced. When Postol fought Matthysse, he was still kind of unproven himself. It's not like he was racking up. He had a normal come up, a normal rise, and he got to that point, and his big fight with Matthysse. But it's not like he was knocking out world contenders. So Pacquiao is clearly the most experienced fighter Matthysse has ever had. I think it'd be a mistake for Matthysse to not alter his game plan from what he's used to. But then again, at this point in his career, can he show anything else? Can he do anything else? Is that all he knows? So that's why there's a lot of storylines here. I think it's really interesting. I think Pacquiao not having Freddie Roach is going to be one of the really interesting things. I also agree. Pacquiao, he really should retire. He doesn't need this fight. He doesn't need this title. But if he gets this win, he's a WBA welterweight titleist, and I really don't want to know what's going to happen next because I definitely don't want to see him against Thurman or Spence or any of those guys.
Yeah, you'll have those fights in the division that are kind of gap fillers, that are good fights for fans until you get the next Crawford or Spence or Thurman fight. That's what this fight is. It's kind of a gap filler, and it may be a stepping stone for either one of the guys to go get a title shot at one of the three main guys. Assuming Thurman, let's say at least Spence and Crawford for now. Given that Thurman is Maybe I don't know if he's still nursing injury or what's. I actually do not know what's going on with Thurman right now. So, you know, that's the kind of fight this is. It's one of those fights that you want to see, and maybe it will set up something later. But I have a feeling that whichever one loses this fight is pretty much done. Period. And whoever wins really has nowhere to go. Because heck, I mean, you could put one of these guys in with, say, Sean Porter. That's a bad fight for them. Sean Porter's a dog. You know, I mean, you could get a rematch out here. You could get a Danny Garcia. You know, what if Mikey decides to move up? I mean, there's still guys. There's so many guys out here. Even before you get to the Crawfords and Spencers of the world, there are fights that can be made they're all dangerous fights. They're all dangerous fights. All of them.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that I'm hearing that the chatter is Pacquiao versus Lomachenko at 140 if Pacquiao wins this fight.
That's retarded. That's completely ridiculous.
I don't know what I've heard coming from Lomachenko's side. I don't know if he'd take that fight. He probably wouldn't want to fight Pacquiao. But I did read that Pacquiao's handlers are maybe looking at Lomachenko. I could be wrong. I'm not sure, but I think I saw that on social media. And if that is the case, you know, that's what's also adds to you know, this kind of crazy storyline is that you know, you talked about those other three guys in the division or the champions. You know, the winner of this fight, let's say it's Pacquiao, the winner of this fight, you know, they're not going to be searching for a title. They are the title. He will be the title. He's Manny Pacquiao, and even if Lomachenko doesn't want to fight him, you best believe somebody else will, because it's going to be a big payday no matter what.
I guess I can clarify because I you know, people like us who are really into boxing and pay attention to the history of the sport. The way that the WBA is the oldest of the four main sanctioning bodies, and it's odd the way that they do their titling. They used to hand out belts like candy, you know. I mean, they have their interim titleists, then they have the regular titles, the regular champion, then they have the super champion. So when I think of the WBA belt, I always think of it in those terms. Who's the regular champion? Like, it's just who has the WBA belt versus who's made, you got to have like 5 or 6 defenses to become the super champion, or you're the super champion, i.e. a unified champ. If you've got, let's say you got the WBO and WBC or IBF belt, you know, or whatever. And even if you don't have the WBA belt, the WBA will recognize you as the super champion in the division. So the WBA is kind of odd in the way that they kind of have their labels and do things. So yes, one of them will be the quote unquote regular champion and have the WBA belt, but that's dangerous for them because all that's going to do is point out to Thurman, Spence, and Crawford, oh, there's a belt over here that I need to go and get. And one of them is going to go and get it. One of them's going to go get it.
And here's
you don't want to fight. You don't want to fight Lomachenko. Lomachenko will eat Pacquiao alive. He'll eat him alive.
And that's what's crazy about this fight. And that's what's crazy about this fight. If Pacquiao wins this fight, it's not just that he'll have a WBA title to his name and somebody's gonna, you know, one of the other champs is gonna want to fight him. It's that he's Manny Pacquiao and he has a big name. Of course, most likely, one of the top fighters will want to fight him, get that paycheck, and probably get that win. And so the point is that it's a dangerous proposition for Manny, because if he wins this title, if he wins this fight, this won't be his last fight. He's going to take I think he's going to take another. One of those fights are going to happen, and that's going to be even more dangerous for Manny because the longer this extends from here, like you said, this is for a title. Call it a regular super title. Regardless, doesn't matter. Even with regular titles for WBA, it's usually a ticket to the super champ or to becoming a super champ at one point or another. So this being for a title fight, what that means is from here, you said where they have to go from here. If Matthysse loses, I think he's done. But if Pacquiao wins from here, the fighters are only going to get younger. They're going to be stronger. They're going to be bigger punchers than Matthysse, but they're going to have more tools at their disposal. They're going to have speed. They're going to have footwork. They're going to have youth. So, you know, that just adds to the storyline, and it's a crazy. I didn't expect this fight to happen when it got announced. It kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't think that this type of fight would happen at this point in either of their careers, because it's such a dangerous fight and it's such a footwork and speed aside. It's not really a contrast in styles. Yeah, you said Pacquiao does punch from different angles, but it's not a contrast in styles from the perspective of one guy likes to go back or one guy likes to go forward. No, they both like to come forward. So there's going to be a lot of forward momentum going in this fight. And you know, it can be a cracker. It can definitely be a cracker.
I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure why he doesn't want to walk away. Maybe it's a money thing. You know, I don't know. I mean, you know, the Floyd Mayweathers of the world are rare, where they walk away at the top of the game and don't ever come back. You know, Pacquiao's not thinking about the future properly. He's like, okay, I want this fight, and I want to set up a fight. Let's say maybe Lomachenko or whoever. You know, but you're throwing these names out to get these big money fights and everything, but you got to understand. So he fought last July, right? He fought Horn last. So when was it that Pacquiao fought Horn? It wasn't last July. It was was it 2? How long ago was that he fought? That he fought Horn.
Right, beginning of July.
Yeah, it was July. Some like early July. He fought Horn. July 2017. He fought Horn and lost. Right. So he took basically a year off. Right. He's a year off. Just a little over a year off. And so now he's fighting Matthysse now, but then let's say he gets the win or he loses, whatever. His next fight will be set up for what? In another year, right? I know he's a senator, I think, all the way through this year, so he's got his senatorial duties too. And so I don't see the next time he fights, he'll be 40 years old. He'll be 40 years old, having gotten into this fight with Matthysse, going to take some blows. Maybe he'll win, maybe he'll lose. Let's say he wins, he takes some blows, he comes back, he's 40. And he's taking more blows, he's 40. He's got to come and fight somebody like Lomachenko or Crawford or somebody like who does nothing but puts hands on you accurately, swiftly, and powerfully. This is a bad look for him. This is a bad look for him. He's got nowhere to go. Like he's got no future. This is what I'm saying. Pacquiao has no future here. It's over for him. This fight withstanding, it's over for him. Like there is nothing else. There's nowhere else for him to go after this win. Let's say this assuming he wins. I think he'll probably win.
I think
nowhere for him to go. What's that?
I would have been happy to stop. I don't even think he should have fought Jeff Horn. I think he should stop with Jesse Vargas. Hell, I think he should have stopped with Timothy Bradley. That would have been the perfect way to end his career back in 2016.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I agree.
So there's a lot of storylines here. Obviously, there's a lot of storylines. We're kind of talking about the styles and what we expect, and kind of talk about their previous fights, as we talked about. So just to kind of finish this off, let me get your prediction. I just want to know. I'll give you mine. You give me yours. I just want to know the round. Give me if you have to make a prediction. Give me the round and the outcome. Who's going to win this fight this Saturday?
Okay. Well, I think who is going to win the fight is going to be Pacquiao. I think that the volume and the work rate is going to wear Matthysse out. I think that, and we've seen Matthysse kind of go. He's up and down in his fights. You know, he'll come out maybe by the early rounds he'll stand in the box with somebody. Then he'll chill out a little bit. The fight, he's a back and forth fighter. He's one of those guys that fight and go back and forth until he gets a KO. You know, sometimes he KOs people early. In fact, I believe with most of his wins, his KOs have actually mostly come early. Only a few of them have gone, past 7-8 rounds in terms of when he gets his knockouts. So Matthysse basically I think is going to start slow. I think Pacquiao come out and measure him round 1. By round 2, I think he'll start turning up the heat. They'll get into some exchanges. I think most of those will probably go Pacquiao's way. And assuming that Matthysse doesn't land anything flush or major, I think he'll probably get Matthysse out of there by round 7 or 8, at the latest. I think he could probably get him out of there by round 7 or 8. And he's going to want to. It's not a fight you want going the distance to let Matthysse continue to try to get some blows in.
and concuss you. I feel like Pacquiao is also going to be the better conditioned fighter, so I'm going to pick Pacquiao to win by knockout by round 7 or 8. That's my pick.
I think both guys are going to be motivated. I think both guys, as crazy as it is, because they could both be retired, I think both guys are hungry for this win because it leads to regardless of whether us as fans like it or not, it leads to bigger things for them because there will be a big fight for the winner or fights. So I think both guys are motivated. I agree. I don't think it's going to be anything early. I think the fight's going to go through the middle rounds. I see Pacquiao's footwork advantage. I see his footwork and Matthysse's tendency to kind of plod and take a lot of minutes off and be a kind of an ineffective fighter. I think that's going to take a toll on him. I think we're going to see a lot of swings and misses from Matthysse. I think he's going to be worn out. I think he's going to wear himself out. I think Pacquiao, ultimately, with the footwork and still with the speed advantage, I think he'll be able to pepper him with shots throughout the rounds and capitalize on a lot of the plodding that Matthysse does. And I think Matthysse is gonna get worn out. I see him getting worn out, and if I had to choose, I would say Manny Pacquiao by stoppage in the 10th round. But regardless, it's still whether you want to see this fight or not, it's going to be a great fight. It's going to be an interesting fight. There's a lot of storylines at play, as we said. It has a real chance to be a cracker. Both guys, like we said, both guys are hungry, and they have a lot to fight for. And they're at the tail end of their careers, so, it might not be the fight we would have had years ago. It won't see the same level of skill or athleticism, but it has the really good potential to be not just a dangerous fight for both, but an entertaining fight for the fans. So that's this weekend. It's going to happen this weekend. Manny Pacquiao versus Lucas Matthysse for WBA Welterweight title in Malaysia. This is the Boxing Freaks. Until next time.
On ESPN Plus.